WRAL Weather Alert Day continues as we track rain on a busy travel day, mostly east of Raleigh. I'll show you where there's a small chance for still a little bit of freezing rain coming up.
Breaking news on flights grounded at RDU, the headaches for last-minute holiday travelers, and which airline is affected the most.
And more breaking news we're following. A 20-year-old man is dead after a shooting in a local neighborhood. The investigation that lasted for hours into the early morning.
A lot of news to get to here on your Christmas Eve. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Laura Levine.
And I'm Chris Lovingood. Yeah, I think the biggest thing, we got the weather, obviously. We just got the American Airlines flights that have been grounded. That's
what a headache.
Going to cause quite the trouble for people traveling. The weather just might as well, as we have meteorologist Chris Michaels tracking that on the dual Doppler 5000.
Yeah, and it's a game of the haves and the have-nots. The eastern half of the area much wetter than the western half. In fact, there's a potential for a little bit of freezing rain and sleet mixture in the eastern halves of Halifax and Northampton counties. But you head farther to the south, and it's just a cold, kind of miserable rain. I could go for some hot chocolate on a day like that. Parts of Cumberland, Sampson counties, Wayne counties dealing with the rain. The eastern half of Harnett County, also a few showers riding along I-95 there as you head into parts of Johnston County. But again, from Raleigh points westward, it is a mostly dry morning. I've circled the area where we see the chance for some patchy freezing rain, and that's well northeast of the Triangle, Fayetteville, Raleigh, Clinton at 37 degrees with no risk of dropping to 32 the rest of the morning. In fact, temperatures will slowly rise. Highs today about 45 to 50, with the afternoon trending drier as well. Hour by hour forecast for Christmas Day. That's coming up momentarily.
Thank you, Chris. We'll get back to you in just a bit. Do want to remind folks about the traffic situation this morning. Mostly clear from what we've been seeing. This right here is video from I-440 at Capitol Boulevard live. You can clearly see people out on the road are clearly taking advantage of the beginning of their Christmas Eve day as they're preparing to get that last-minute shopping in. Meanwhile, current road conditions, rain-wise, you see most of that focused in Goldsboro, Fayetteville, Greenville, Tarboro, but for the most part, things are looking clear here on the Triangle as the morning progresses. Now, you may encounter some wet road conditions this morning affecting any last-minute travel plans you might have. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live at RDU. In addition to that wet weather, Kelsey, we know that right now American Airlines flights have been grounded. We've seen images here in the newsroom of people standing in line. What are you seeing right now?
Well, Chris, we just received a statement from American Airlines in the last 45 minutes. They say there's a technical issue that's impacting their flights. As far as what we're seeing here outside of Terminal 2, not too much activity, but we will bring your attention here to the flight boards. We'll also show you some video of what's going on at the airport right now. But as far as delays, what we're seeing so far is three arriving flights, 3 American flights that are arriving here to RDU are delayed. And then 6 flights that are going to be departing from RDU, those are delayed. So quite a few delays here. All of the flights that are delayed for American are morning flights. We have not seen any delays so far just yet with afternoon flights. So we'll be sure to stay on top of any delays or potential cancellations as American Airlines works through this technical issue. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live at RDU.
And because we are only into an hour of that situation regarding American Airlines, we are going to follow this all day. Tune into our newscast from 4 to 7:30 this evening to see how your forecast for weather is going to affect your day, but also how any of these flights could be affecting your travel.
We're staying on top of more breaking news. Police are investigating a shooting that left a man dead. Nick Perlin is in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker in Fayetteville.
Fayetteville police tell us the person who was shot and the suspected shooter knew each other. They say the shooting all happened just before 10 last night. Now take a look at this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. This is on the 4600 block of Gardenwood Court in Fayetteville, and you can see here police officers blocking this cul-de-sac as they investigated this shooting last night. We know one man was shot and sadly died at the scene. At this point in time, we're still working with the Fayetteville Police Department to find out if they know who fired those gunshots. In Fayetteville, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
2 men are hurt after a shooting in Halifax County. Scotland Neck police say it happened near 8th Street and Chestnut Street just before 11 last night. They found that multiple shots were fired into a vehicle, dropping another off at a home. Police say the 2 men who were shot drove themselves to the police department. They identified a person of interest and their car. They say if you are the driver of this car or if you see it, please reach out to police.
Officers across the state are honoring Officer Michael Horan. He was killed on the job yesterday. That is why first responders joined a procession for the officer last night. Officer Horan was responding to reports of a man with a gun at a Greensboro food line yesterday. That's when he was shot and killed. The suspect, though, has not been identified, not yet. He led law enforcement on a chase through 7 counties before ending at the Sampson-Duplin County border on I-40, according to investigators. Sky 5 recorded the video you're seeing here the moment officers took that person into custody. I-40 was closed for hours as officers investigated, and tributes are pouring in for Officer Horan.
He was an excellent officer. He had an outstanding reputation inside the department and in the community.
Governor Roy Cooper said, quote, "The officer was courageously doing his duty, protecting Greensboro when he became victim of a senseless act of violence. I extend to his family and friends my sympathy and a grateful heart for his brave, dedicated service." WRAL has reached out to Greensboro police to learn more about what led up to that shooting.
There's some good news for drivers making last-minute trips to their holiday destinations. AAA says today and Christmas Day will be less busy than the last few days. There's no suggested travel period, but if you are driving this morning in the Triangle, watch out for potentially wet roads.
Here's what else you should watch out for, those gas prices. So here's what you're going to see if you head out. The current average in North Carolina is $2.86. According to Gas Buddy, the current average in Raleigh, $2.91. The national average is $3.04. And reports say we're seeing the cheapest gas since the pandemic began, Laura.
Well, if you need to run some last-minute errands like myself this Christmas Eve, listen to this. Here's what's open and closed today. Stores like Walmart and Target are open, but they will close early. Walmart closes tonight at 6. Target closes at 8. Both will be closed on Christmas Day. Now, most grocery stores will be open, but many have reduced hours, so make sure you check before you head out to pick out any last-minute ingredients. Banks are open today, but Wells Fargo banks will close at noon. And most pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens are open, but check your local store's hours.
This morning, women and children in Durham will have a chance to receive toys and a Christmas Eve brunch. The Durham Rescue Mission is holding the event this morning. It's kicking off at 10 a.m. with a gingerbread house building contest. Then they can expect brunch, presents, even a Christmas message. It's happening at the Good Samaritan Inn on East Knox Street.
Yesterday, the Durham Rescue Mission held its 47th annual Christmas community dinner and toy giveaway. It was held at the men's campus on East Main Street in Durham. Volunteers braved the cold weather to make a free warm Christmas meal for families who may not have one this year. 1,700 children received bags of toys and 3,100 people got a warm Christmas meal.
Your time is 8:07 this morning. 2 shootings where people were doing their holiday shopping. What Cary police say about these cases and why one suspect says the shooting was an accident.
And the Santa tracking tradition, the large team at NORAD that's following his sleigh this morning, and how the tradition started nearly 70 years ago by accident.
Interesting stuff. Meanwhile, as we look over southeastern Wake County, just got through a shower right on the Johnston County line, and I just got a picture of some sleet within the viewing area. I'll show you where that is and share that picture with you coming up.
Welcome back as we're taking a live look over North Hills this morning. What a beautiful shot as we are getting our day started here on your Christmas Eve. We are off to a chilly start, however. Meteorologist Chris Michaels tracking the forecast for us. And Chris, you know, we had that concern about freezing rain and some slick roads out there.
Yeah, especially in Northampton County. And I actually just got this picture from Brad Davis. And Brad, shout out to you. Appreciate you kind of helping us tell the story. You saw all the sunshine there in Raleigh, but Northampton County dealing with what it looks like to be a little bit of sleet in Conway. So great shot there. You can see that in the eastern half of Northampton County. Dual Doppler 5000 really picking out the precipitation type very well this morning. Got a few showers, especially in Johnston County, but you head into Wake, Durham, and Orange counties, nothing doing. So we're just kind of an area divided here throughout the rest of the morning. And Futurecast continues to show that rain shield that essentially is going to ride along into the east of I-95 for the next few hours. As we head into the afternoon, I would expect that most of the rain would start to move toward the coast and just stay there. In fact, as we head into the overnight, we'll actually see some clearing in the sky that'll cool things off. make things smooth sailing for Santa Claus's trip into North Carolina. All right, as we head into the afternoon, temperatures 45 to 50 degrees, partly to mostly cloudy, but again, it's all going to be about location, brighter to the west and a little grayer as you go farther to the east. Overnight, Roxborough 28, Fayetteville 34, Rocky Mount 30, Wake County going to be around freezing as well. And then first thing out the door tomorrow, if you plan on heading out around 8 o'clock, we're dry in the mid to upper 30s, midday temperatures upper 40s with highs for your Christmas day in the low to mid 50s, right in the sweet spot this time of year. So traveling looks to be just fine for Christmas Day, Thursday and Friday, and that includes if you're heading farther to the north. Got some bowl games going on. UNC and UConn at Fenway Park. Kickoff temperature there is going to be in the mid 30s. We'll be in the low 40s for the Military Bowl. NC State and ECU looking like a dry start to that game. But here at home, we'll see some showers starting to build in Saturday. Higher rain chances Sunday. We'll update you on that as we go throughout the week, especially with that post-holiday travel this weekend.
And we are watching the traffic situation outside. We know you're getting ready to head out there. This is a preview. I-540 at US 64 Business, and pretty calm out on this road here. It looks like mostly I-40 today has really been the busy road. Not so much this one we've been showing you, but in terms of the conditions out on the roads right now, currently we're starting to see a little more of that green in the Triangle area. Before it was mostly near Goldsboro and Fayetteville, but this kind of matches up with the map that Chris was just showing us seconds ago. We're monitoring this very closely as you're headed out to do your last-minute Christmas shopping for the holidays.
Part of Santa Cruz Pier collapsed into the ocean with 3 people on it. This video captured at the scene shows part of the debris floating away in the surf. Santa Cruz police say 2 of the people on the pier had to be rescued, and the 3rd person got out of the water on their own. There is no word yet on the extent of their injuries. The rest of the wharf was evacuated. Winter storms previously damaged the end of the pier.
Cary police are investigating 3 shootings in 4 days. They tell WRAL they are not related, though. The suspect in Friday night's shooting at Fenton faced a judge yesterday. I'm talking about 24-year-old Malik Scott McLaren. He turned himself in for that shooting. He's an employee of Sun State Security. It provides unarmed security services at Fenton. Scott McLaren's attorney says, well, the gun went off accidentally. His attorney argued for a lower bond because of that.
The death resulted due to an accidental discharge of a firearm. To me, it is not consistent with a murder. If anything, it's questionable whether or not these allegations are even consistent with an involuntary manslaughter.
McLaren and the victim, Corey McNeil, knew each other, according to investigators. Cary police tell WRAL they do have a person of interest in Sunday night's shooting. That's the one in the parking lot of a Burlington coat factory. A 33-year-old man is facing charges because police say he set a woman on fire. That happened in a New York City subway train. Federal officials say the man was in the U.S. illegally and was deported. New York City police arrested Sebastian Zapata Khalil yesterday. He was charged with first-degree murder and arson. Here's a photo on your screen. Authorities say surveillance video showed the man calmly approach a sleeping woman and set her on fire. They say that he then watched from a bench as she became engulfed in flames and died. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene.
One child will have to spend Christmas in the ICU after a Christmas drone show went terribly wrong. Thousands were watching the show in Orlando when drones started tumbling to the ground below and into the crowd. The FAA confirmed several of the small aircraft collided mid-air. One of them struck a 7-year-old boy.
My daughter found my son on the floor, unconscious, blood coming out his face. The drone hit him so hard in his chest that it messed up one of the valves in his heart.
She says the impact forced doctors to perform emergency heart surgery Sunday. The company that put on the show says they are working with the FAA and they regret any distress they caused.
A mother and her child survived a head-on crash with a suspected drunk driver. This is the video behind me here. It's the moment when Chelsea Evans says a drunk driver crossed the center line and hit her. This happened Sunday night in Fayetteville. She and her 9-month-old baby were taken to the hospital, but they are expected to be okay. Evans says months ago, while pregnant with her son, another suspected drunk driver rear-ended her on Murchison Road.
It's a miracle because the impact of how we were hit, we definitely had the choice of not being here today. However, God interfered and he saved our lives.
Police say the driver of the other car, Calvin McDonald, is also hospitalized. When he's released, investigators say he will be charged with DWI.
And breaking right now in the WRAL Live Center, for those of you flying American Airlines, some good news. The ground stop was lifted. They lifted that about 7:50 this morning. This is the message from the FAA saying the nationwide ground stop has been canceled. That is some good news. It's Christmas Eve. A lot of people are traveling today, and this was causing a headache for a lot of people. American Airlines issued that ground stop because of a technical issue, but you can see some airports across the country getting back to business as usual. The ground stop for American has been lifted.
Michelle, thank you. Amazon warehouse workers in Garner have asked for a vote to form a union. They filed papers yesterday with the National Labor Relations Board. If successful, the facility would be the first Amazon warehouse in the South to form a union, and only the second in the entire country.
There is now another treatment option for people with type 2 diabetes. The FDA approved a generic version of the daily injectable GLP-1 medicine, liraglutide. The treatment is similar to Ozempic. It'll be sold under the brand name Victoza. The company that sells the generic version has not announced a price. They did say it will cost less than the branded version. The treatment is expected to be available nationwide by the new year.
Well, a frustration for air travelers as seats and legroom increasingly shrink on flights, passengers who recline back in their seats. A new tongue-in-cheek ad campaign launched by furniture company Lazy Boy, known for its plush, oversized chairs, taps into the hot button issue. The ads include a petition imploring travelers to, quote, do the upright thing, don't recline when you fly. As of Monday night, it had collected just under 200,000 signatures and growing. The company says it will award one lucky petition signer a Lazy Boy recliner and $500 in airfare. You can sign up at lazyboy.com.
President Biden is taking dozens of people off federal death row, including 3 North Carolina killers. Clemency will be granted to 37 of the 40 federal inmates facing death sentences. Their sentences will be commuted to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Only 3 federal prisoners will be awaiting execution when President-elect Donald Trump takes office. They include the convicted murderer in the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, the gunman at Mother Emanuel Church of Charleston, and the surviving Boston Marathon bomber.
The Container Store has filed for bankruptcy. The move had been anticipated by Wall Street as the company's financial struggles have grown recently. The Container Store has 103 locations across the U.S., including here in Raleigh. It's located on Glenwood across from Crabtree Valley Mall. This doesn't signal the end for the retailer, though. The plan will provide the company with $40 million in financing and extend the time it has to pay off remaining debts. Mount Olive's Pickle Drop, the event has been named among the top 10 best New Year's Eve's drops in 2024. USA Today puts the list together every year, and this is the second year in a row they've made the list. The Pickle Drop comes in at number 9, just ahead of the Ball Drop in Times Square. Other drops include the Possum Drop in Georgia, the Peeps Chick Drop in Pennsylvania, and the Pierogi Drop in Indiana. And at number 1, the Ball Drop in Ludington, Michigan. This year is the 25th annual Pickle Drop in Mount Olive, and things get underway on New Year's Eve at 5 p.m. Well, Santa Claus is coming to town, if you didn't know, and you can track his journey right now. NORAD's Santa Tracker is up and running. Rebecca Castor tells us about this beloved decades-long tradition.
No, that's not a drone NORAD's watching. For the 69th year, the North American Aerospace Defense Command is tracking Santa's sleigh.
Santa just left Kyrgyzstan.
It's a tradition that started by accident. In 1955, a department store misprinted a phone number in a newspaper ad for kids to call Santa. Instead, it was the number for the Continental Air Defense Command, NORAD's predecessor. And that Christmas Eve, officers took dozens of calls from kids asking the same question. Where is Santa, and when will he arrive at my house?
He generally tends to start just to the west of the international dateline and work his way around the globe, generally moving north to south.
Now NORAD gets hundreds of thousands of calls every December 24th. And it takes a large team of volunteers to keep the magic alive.
It is something that brings real joy to the members of NORAD.
NORAD's everyday mission is to track everything that flies in the sky over the U.S. and Canada. So they have the best technology and qualifications to keep up with Santa and his reindeer.
We have a network of satellites that orbit about 23,000 miles above the Earth, and they are aided by the heat from Rudolph's nose. That helps them be able to see where the sleigh is.
We are getting a look at Santa's journey this morning as we're looking at a live NORAD tracker there. It looks like he is in Papua New Guinea, according to our producer there. Making his way across the globe, Laura, as he's delivering any gifts there. Have you been on the naughty or nice list this year?
Definitely on the nice
She had to
list.
think about it. Did you hear that? Did you hear that just for a second?
I'm not going to tell you otherwise.
Your time is 8:23. Winter can create unsafe outdoor conditions, especially for senior citizens. What triggers the risks for falls and what you can do to stay safe.
Plus, egg recall upgraded. Why eggs sold here in North Carolina could cause some serious health issues.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. The time is 8:26. I'm Laura Levine. Here's meteorologist Chris Michaels with a look at the forecast.
Hey there, Laura. Yeah, so we're kind of split in half. To the west, you see sunshine. To the east, you see plenty of rain. Even had some reports of sleet in parts of Northampton County. This is something that will continue for us up until about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. But in terms of the Triangle, Wake Orange, and Durham counties, really not expecting much in the way of rain. Futurecast continues to show that area of rain moving off toward the east. So along into the east of I-95 up until about midday today. So if you plan on heading to Greenville, New Bern, or toward the Outer Banks, count on some rain for your Christmas Eve. Your Christmas Day forecast hour by hour over on Fox 50.
Breaking news at RDU. Several American Airlines flights are impacted by technical issues nationwide this morning. A ground stop was lifted about 30 minutes ago. A statement from the airline says teams are working to resolve the issue as quickly as possible, and we apologize to our customers for the inconvenience. WRAL News has a crew at the airport monitoring delays. A man is dead after a shooting at a home in Fayetteville. This happened at 10 o'clock on Gardenwood Court, that is. 20-year-old Malachi Woods was shot and killed. Investigators say Woods and the shooter knew each other. Two men are hurt after a shooting in Halifax County. This happened in Scotland Neck around 11 o'clock last night. Police say several shots were fired into a vehicle. Police say the two men who were shot drove themselves to the police department. They identified a person of interest and their car. Next on Fox 50, we'll have a live report from RDU on the flight delays from those technical issues. And up next on Today, recipes that celebrate Christmas and the first night of Hanukkah.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
We are following breaking news. A ground stop lifted at RDU. The technical issues for last-minute holiday travelers and which airline is affected.
And more breaking news. The investigation in a local neighborhood early this morning after a 20-year-old man was shot and killed.
And rain continues in the eastern half of the area, and it'll push off toward the east as we head into the afternoon. Your full Christmas Eve and Christmas Day hour-by-hour forecasts coming up.
You are a traveler with American Airlines. You have probably had a roller coaster of a morning,
yes.
But we will get to you about that ground stop being lifted. Thank you so much for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Laura Levine, and so many people traveling today as well as grabbing those last-minute items. Meteorologist Chris Michaels at the WRAL Severe Weather Center. He's been tracking the latest on the conditions out there today, Chris.
And our weather's been split in half. West is really nice. East is not so nice across North Carolina. We've seen a few areas of sleet and freezing rain in parts of Halifax and Northampton counties. That's coming to an end. In fact, when you look at dual Doppler 5000, you can decipher what's a raindrop versus what isn't. These are actually snowflakes melting above, resulting in some sleet. We first told you about that earlier this morning, and we have confirmation of that in Conway. Great shot here from Brad Davis, sent through WRAL Weather Watchers. In the meantime, anything else is just plain rain around Dunn and Benson, heading up towards Smithfield and Selma. But notice that from Wake County westward, we're dry sky, and we actually see some sun breaking out. But it'll stay pretty wet in the Sandhills into Wayne and Wilson counties, probably up until about 11 o'clock this morning. And that's why we also see a divide in temperatures. And this is kind of opposite of what you would expect on a typical day, where Goldsboro and Clinton are the cold spots at 44 degrees, whereas Roxborough and Durham are at 51 degrees this afternoon. We'll have your hour-by-hour Christmas Day forecast coming up in just a little bit.
Your traffic conditions outside this morning. You're looking at I-440 at Capitol Boulevard. Pretty quiet out the roads there. We've seen I-40 for the most part. That's been the busiest road, but still, traffic still moving today, this Christmas Eve. In terms of the conditions out on the road right now, we're starting to see the map kind of match up with what Chris Michaels is showing regarding the rain that's pushing on the parts of the radar there. We're seeing some of it in the triangle, but for the most part, things are pretty clear and green across the board. Just make sure you take your time out there when you're driving on the roads.
We're checking in on the roads and at the airports. Thank you, Chris. We're following breaking news at RDU this morning. American Airlines is working to get flights back on schedule after technical issues. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from RDU. Kelsey, we know a ground stop was lifted about 30 minutes ago.
Yes, Lauren, since that ground stop has been lifted, we are seeing more flight delays. So we just checked the flight aboard here, and it looks like 16 American airline flights are delayed. But we'll give you a live look now so you can see that one of those flights is actually about to take off now. We've seen at least 3 or 4 planes just stuck there sitting for the past 30 minutes or so. So it is good to know that some folks will be able to see their loved ones for the holidays. So we'll be sure just to keep you up to date on any other delays or potential cancellations. That's just all a result of that technical issue from American Airlines. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live at RDU.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, 2 people who were arrested for jumping off a crane in Raleigh have been identified. We have their photos to show you this morning. Jason McClure and Jorge Chacon. Around 2 o'clock this morning, the Raleigh Police Department responded to City Hall construction site for a report of trespassing. That's when they found these 2 with parachutes standing at the top of a crane. They jumped off of that crane onto the top parking deck of City Hall. Both were taken into custody and charged with first-degree trespassing and resisting a public officer. This is an ongoing investigation.
We're certainly staying with that story today. Thank you, Michelle. Breaking news we're also following. Police are investigating a shooting that left a person dead. Nick Perlin is in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker in a Fayetteville neighborhood.
Fayetteville police tell us the person who was shot and the suspected shooter knew each other. They say the shooting all happened just before 10 last night. Now take a look at this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. This is on the 4600 block of Gardenwood Court in Fayetteville, and you can see here police officers blocking this cul-de-sac as they investigated this shooting last night. We know one man was shot and sadly died at the scene. At this point in time, we're still working with the Fayetteville Police Department to find out if they know who fired those gunshots. In Fayetteville, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Durham firefighters worked to put out a fire at an apartment complex last night. This happened around 8:30 on 7 Oaks Road. Crews saw smoke and flames coming from the leasing office. They managed to put it out within about 20 minutes, but then the fire reignited when electricity jumped between 2 power sources. The power company arrived and then shut off power entirely to the building, but no one was injured.
Officers across the state are remembering Officer Michael Horan, who was killed in the line of duty. First responders joined a procession here for officers last night. We know Officer Horan was responding to reports of a man with a gun at a Greensboro Food Lion yesterday when he was shot and killed. The suspect has not been identified. He led law enforcement on a chase through 7 counties before ending at the Sampson-Duplin County border on I-40. Sky 5 captured the moment officers took him into custody. I-40 was closed for hours as officers investigated. WRAL has reached out to Greensboro police to learn more about what led up to the shooting.
A Cary man is in custody this morning after being charged with having bomb-making materials. Police arrested 57-year-old David Lawrence, right there on your screen. That was because a family member tipped off officers about devices believed to be bombs. They say Lawrence also made threats to kill Muslims. Law enforcement didn't find any evidence of threats when they conducted a search, so they haven't issued charges for that, at least not yet. Lawrence admitted to making explosives, though, for what he described as noisemakers. He did deny making threats to anyone. At last check, he's in the Wake County Detention Center.
The House Ethics Committee found evidence former Congressman Matt Gaetz paid tens of thousands of dollars for sex or drugs, including paying a 17-year-old girl for sexual favors in 2017. The committee released the final draft of the panel's report yesterday. It said there is substantial evidence he violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory rape, illicit drug use, impermissible gifts, special favors, or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. Gaetz has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing.
A firefighter in Harnett County was taken to the hospital while on the way to a fire. Spout Springs Emergency Services says a crew was responding to a brush fire on Cameron Hill Road. The fire crew had the lights and the sirens activated when another vehicle hit the fire truck. That happened at the intersection of Delaware Lane and NC 24. The firefighter had to be rescued from the truck and then taken to the hospital. But at last check, he's recovering.
We are now learning more about a deadly accident here on Highway 57 in Orange County that shut down the road for hours on Saturday. This man here, Carlos Garado Gonzalez Mejia, is facing multiple charges for driving impaired and killing Bertha Vesio Moreno and two young children. State Highway Patrol officials say Gonzalez Mejia struck the back of Vesio Moreno, forcing her vehicle across the center line and colliding with another car. People who live nearby say it's not the first incident or accident on this road.
This seems to be a great opportunity for people with loud pipes, big tires, high performance engines, big trucks to just really give it the gas and go.
Gonzalez Mejia is currently in custody in the Orange County Jail. State Highway Patrol continues to investigate. Former President Bill Clinton is in the hospital this morning. A spokesperson for Clinton says he is undergoing testing and observation at Georgetown University Medical Center in Washington. They say Clinton was admitted after developing a fever. He is said to be in good spirits and hopeful to be home by Christmas. The 78-year-old has experienced health problems in the past, including a bypass surgery in 2004.
The Mega Millions drawing is tonight, and the jackpot is approaching $1 billion. The winning ticket is worth an estimated, specifically, $970 million. The lump sum option is nearly $440 million. You can catch the next drawing tonight at 11 o'clock right over on WRAL. $15.5 million has been raised to help with Hurricane Helene relief. Governor Roy Cooper says the funds were made to the NC Disaster Relief Fund for the North Carolina Community Foundation. That foundation will use it along with another $12 million the foundation raised to support long-term recovery for Western North Carolina.
A boat explodes in a marina.
It was like a boom kind of, and I turned around and the whole dock was already on fire.
New video this morning of that explosion, and a waiter at a nearby restaurant describes watching it happen.
Plus, preventing cold weather injuries, the increased risks, and what you can do to keep yourself from having an icy fall.
And part of Christmas Eve is a WRAL weather alert day. Meteorologist Chris Michaels is tracking some rain when it moves out of the area.
Putting in our secret code here. Beep, 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 beep. All right, we are now tracking Santa officially. His reindeer have set off on their sleigh, delivering gifts to children around the world as we are giving a live look at the NORAD tracker. Right now, he is in, I believe they said, Adelaide. Is that correct?
Chris, it looks like he actually just crossed over. He's now in Alice Springs, Australia, with about almost 1 billion gifts already dropped off to kids and people across the country.
It feels like a scam, though. He's not actually getting out of the sleigh. What's going on here, NORAD? What do you know, NORAD?
It's the Christmas magic. They're not going to show you everything.
It's a secret.
Well, we know for Santa, who is making those deliveries, Chris, it looked like here in the Triangle, he's going to have some nice weather for it.
He's going to have smooth sailing, and Rudolph is not going to have to guide him through any fog like he originally did. We've got a few clouds and damp ground there in Clinton as we continue to track showers in the Sandhills. It's just plain old rain, but it's a chilly one. Temperatures are in the mid to upper 30s across the Sandhills this morning. Also the case in places like Dunn and Benson, Smithfield, Four Oaks, Clayton, continue to see the rain pushing through, but farther to the west, you actually see sunshine. So it's really a game of miles in terms of how your weather's panning out. We've seen some reports of a little bit of sleet in Conway and Northampton County, but that too is coming to an end, and we'll gradually start to see rain showers pushing off toward the east. If you are in Halifax or Northampton counties and you happen to see a little bit of wintry stuff, send us your pictures through Weather Watchers. That's actually how we got it confirmed earlier this morning. Now, in terms of rain, it'll continue moving east of I-95 as we get closer to midday. At that point, temperatures rise a little bit. We'll only be in the 40s for the most part, but actually warmer as you go toward Durham and Roxborough. This afternoon, this evening, any kind of scattered showers, they'll be closer to the coast. Cooler in Goldsboro and Clinton today, 44 the high temperature, Fayetteville 47, but again, Durham and Roxborough cracking the 50s. Overnight, 28 to 34, mainly clear skies. So again, everything looks to be good for Santa Claus's flight into town. 37 first thing tomorrow morning, then 48 midday on your Christmas day. And that's a present right there. Dry weather and high temperatures in the 50s. Looking beyond Christmas Day, I think we're mainly dry on Thursday, maybe a stray shower Friday, isolated shower Saturday, but a better chance Sunday with this storm system coming through. That could pose some travel troubles post-holiday. So we'll keep an eye on that here in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. But also otherwise, really, as you look towards Sunday and heading into the new year, temperatures warming into the 60s.
All right, thank you, Chris. One person is dead and several others are injured after a bloat explosion at a marina in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. See the video for yourself. You'll see the moment it happens. You'll notice there are a few people stand by when it does, and then the top of that boat just blasts into the air. Authorities say this happened just before 6 o'clock last night. Images from the sky show firefighters battling those intense flames there. Eventually, this fire spread to a second boat. And a waiter at a nearby restaurant described what he witnessed up front.
All I saw was the boat just explode, and the top of the boat went up, and then the boat, it came back down and the boat went into flames. So, after that, I ran out there to try to see if anybody needed help, and one guy was on fire, another person was in the water. It was just like, it was like chaos.
And after this, 5 people were taken to the hospital, and 3 of them have traumatic injuries, according to investigators. After that blast, divers searched for a man who was unaccounted for, but later found dead. That person has not been identified at last check. And an investigation into what caused that explosion, that's happening right now.
Luigi Mangione, the man accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO, pleaded not guilty to the charges. He faces 3 murder charges, including murder as an act of terrorism. If convicted, he could receive life in prison without the possibility of parole. He also faces federal charges that could result in the death penalty. Mangione's lawyer says New York's mayor is politicizing his arrest.
President Biden has signed the National Defense Authorization Act into law. This new law will determine policy and provide money for the Defense Department. It also contains a provision pushed by Republicans that the president says he strongly opposes. The new law prohibits gender-affirming care for transgender children of service members. In a statement, Biden says it interferes with parents' roles to determine the best care for their children. He says it also interferes with the military's ability to recruit and retain its service members. Biden said no service member should have to decide between their family's health care access and their call to serve the country.
President-elect Donald Trump appears to be entertaining an American territorial expansion that would rival the Louisiana Purchase or the deal that netted Alaska from Russia. In the past week, he's taunted Canadian officials by suggesting the U.S. could absorb the country and make it the 51st state. He threatened to take over the Panama Canal, the U.S.-made waterway controlled by the Panamanian government. And on Sunday, he resurfaced his first-term desire to obtain the Danish territory of Greenland. The president of Panama and the Prime Minister of Greenland have both rebuffed the suggestions, calling the ideas absurd. One of the world's most active volcanoes is erupting on Hawaii's Big Island. Lava started bubbling through the crust of the island there yesterday morning. The eruption was confined to the volcano's summit, caldera. That's in a remote closed area of Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. The most immediate threat is volcanic smog that could reach homes downwind. Now, the volcano most recently erupted in September.
One Wake County family is keeping their son's memory, alive by bringing smiles to other children's faces this holiday season. Amazing Avon's Quest for Amoeba Awareness is a nonprofit created by Avon Moffitt's family. Avon died of a rare brain infection after swimming in a pond. This year, the foundation is donating more than $41,000 worth of items to families in need. The group delivered gifts to UNC Children's Hospital and the Ronald McDonald House of Chapel Hill. Snow and ice during the winter months, it can be a dangerous thing, especially to older adults. Mary Ann Rafferty tells us what triggers the risks and what you can do to keep yourself from falling.
As winter rages on, snow and ice can create unsafe outdoor conditions, especially for seniors. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, falls are the leading cause of injury for folks 65 and up.
The bigger problem is what happens after the fracture, and that mortality risk for an elderly person is markedly higher than for a younger individual.
The odds of suffering bone fractures from falling also increase as we age.
When you're younger, all of your various soft tissues in your body are designed to absorb energy. And in addition, there's damage accrual that occurs in your bones over time that, as a younger person, your body is designed to repair that damage. But as you age, those mechanisms slow.
But aging isn't the only factor that can impact bone quality.
Alzheimer's disease, Down syndrome, these disease states have an impact on the skeleton, and sometimes skeletal weakness can be, again, a marker for the underlying disease before the disease itself is really prominent.
Preventing injuries starts by minimizing risks.
If it's icy, don't walk outside. If you're taking down your Christmas tree, maybe call your son over to help you lug it out the front door.
And health experts say there's plenty of methods to screen for bone health.
What's known as a DEXA scan. It's a bone scan. It's the gold standard. It's present in literally every clinic in the country. It's cheap. It's fast. There are blood tests that can reveal metabolic issues with your bones.
That was Mary Ann Rafferty reporting. Safety advocates say awareness is important. The CDC says 1 in 4 older adults report falling every year.
And following some breaking news right now in the WRAL Live Center, the suspect charged with killing Greensboro police officer Michael Horan has been identified and charged. This is him. This is 34-year-old Terrell McMillian. He is charged with first-degree murder. He shot Horan in a Food Lion grocery store in Greensboro yesterday. Horan was alerted to that store for the reports of an armed subject. This is him, Terrell McMillian. He is in Guilford County Jail without bond. He also faces multiple charges for the chase that spanned about 7 counties yesterday. Other charges may be pending as well.
Michelle, thank you. A recall on eggs sold here in North Carolina is now classified under the highest risk level. The FDA marked Handsome Brook Farm eggs with a Category 1 recall for salmonella. That means there is reasonable probability that the product could cause serious health issues or even death if consumed. Hundreds of thousands of the eggs were sold at Costco under its Kirkland brand. No illnesses have been reported. The company says they were not meant to be distributed as retail, but were shipped with retail packaging by accident. Oh, I can't believe I have to read this one. My New Orleans Saints have become the first team to be shut out this NFL season. The Green Bay Packers demolished them during last night's game with an ending score of 34-0. The Packers have now clinched a playoff berth. Next week, they will head to Minnesota to play the Vikings. Meanwhile, the Saints will be back home in New Orleans to play the Las Vegas Raiders. Some improvements are in the works for a road in Raleigh thanks to a $19.6 million grant. A new bridge and safety upgrades are planned along New Hope Church Road. It's in part of the S-Line, that is, passenger trail project. The bridge will be built over the railroad tracks. Bike lanes will also be built near St. Albans Drive. Work is set to start next month.
Well, this is pretty hype. Director Christopher Nolan's next movie is going to be The Odyssey. Universal revealed Nolan will adapt Homer's epic poem into his vision. The story follows Odysseus' journey home after the Trojan War. The new movie has some pretty big names attached to this. Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Anne Hathaway, and Charlize Theron. This film will hit theaters in July of 2026. I'm pretty excited about it. One of my favorite movies from him, Interstellar, Inception. You gotta love Christopher Nolan. It's a great dude.
It's gonna be good. Well, before we go to break, here are the winning lottery numbers, and we'll get another check on weather and traffic coming up next.